Welcome everyone to the Obscenema Podcast 2. I'm your host, Dan.
I'm Paul.
We've made it to episode 2, everyone. So
Yeah,
give myself a pat on the back for that one.
big
Um,
deal.
yeah. So for this one, we're going to be talking about a movie that I think is a bit of a hidden gem
It is.
called, Lair of the White Worm. So, Paul, can you give us a brief description of the movie and how you feel about it?
Well, I didn't know about the movie because like for the first episode I was like, hey, let's talk about Hell High. And you didn't know the movie, and then now you were like, all right, let's talk about Lay of the White Worm, and I didn't know about it. Then I like looked it up on the internet and I saw like screenshots of the movie, and saw some pictures from it, but I never knew where they were from. But basically, the movie is about like a small village in either Scotland or like England. I don't know. I think it's Scotland, right?
Yeah, it. I think it's supposedly it's. I think it's in like northern England because
Yeah, because
it's in Mercia, which I think is like kind of like a north and eastern part of England.
yeah, but there's like there's a Scottish guy, just like the one guy
Yeah,
is Scottish. So basically, there's this Scottish guy who is in this small city in England, and he digs up like a an old skull, and they don't know what it is. Like they think maybe it's a dinosaur or whatever. And then it just like everything goes fucking crazy. There's a story about or this like legend in this town about like an old white dragon or like a big snake that was like killed by a knight who lived in the town. And there's the guy who's like an ancestor of that knight who killed the dragon. I don't know if he's like his son or something. He's related to him.
it's like a long
Yeah,
ancestor, like British royalty or something.
yeah. And he's like a rich guy and lives in the castle of his like I don't know of this knight basically. And then there's like he does a party about like chopping like this dragon in half, and then shit just goes crazy. There's this girl whose parents got missing,
Hmm.
and then they find the watch of the father of the girl in an old cave. And then they find out the old cave is the cave where the dragon lived that was killed like hundreds of years ago.
Yeah,
And then there's this like weird lady who lives in like an abandoned house.
yeah, the villainess of the movie.
Yeah. And it turns out she's an old like snake vampire dragon lady, I guess.
Yeah,
She isn't when there's like this story about this like old like dragon gods that like some Romans worship basically. And at first I thought she was like the god like reincarnated in like a woman's form,
hmm,
but she's just like a demon or like I don't know, like it's never
she's
really
like an.
explained what she is.
I think she's like an acolyte, like the head of this
Of the
like
cult.
pagan church. Yeah, head of
Yeah.
the cult, and yeah, it talks a little bit about vampirism. So I think she has used her sort of pseudo vampire powers to stay alive for
Yeah,
centuries.
because she can like get like huge like snake fangs, and
Yeah,
every time she like bites someone, they turn into like one of those snake persons too, and they're like under her control basically.
yeah. So,
And
oh, go ahead.
the best thing is like then they find out that this woman like leads the cult that old emperors or like Roman emperor worship the snake god, and she was back there too, and she was his lover like love interest. And then they find it out like they that she basically sacrificed the parents to the old like dragon that was killed there 100 years ago, but it's not that actually. And they go to her like villa and fight against her, and then there's a sacrifice, and it goes all over the place. It's really hard to describe it because there's like a million fucking things happen,
Yeah,
and
a lot of
everybody's like super chill about it. They're like, oh, she's a snake demon. Well, we must kill her, and like nobody's like surprised about anything.
Yeah, no, yeah, yeah, they're all kind of go along with it. Well,
Yeah,
yeah, okay, I guess she's a snake demon. All right, yeah, that's fine. Uh, um, so yeah, so I think we can get into the scene by scene here, if that works
yeah,
for you. We got a basic overview of the plot of the movie, but it's kind of hard to say what the plot is.
yeah.
In
It's hard to summarize it like in short.
Yeah. So I guess to sum up, the basic idea is that yeah, there's a no, Paul, you said it the most succinctly I could, and it took 5 minutes. So uh, I think we just gotta
Basically, there's an old dragon in the town who is a god,
yeah
and there's a woman who worships the dragon and kills people. But she's a vampire too, and she doesn't kill them.
yeah
But she kills some of them,
yes
but not all. And
yeah
that's like the very basic idea.
yeah. So to get into it, the scene by scene, if you will. So the movie opens up, and the opening credits are actually pretty good. They've kind of got this like almost hammer horror look to them with
Yeah, they
like
got the fucking awesomest font. Like the font looks super fucking cool. They use.
yeah, and you're getting all these shots of like the English countryside, and there's this
Yeah,
big cave, big ominous cave that it keeps focusing on.
and it's
Um,
huge. Like when you see it, you're not sure, but later they go into it, and it's fucking gigantic.
yeah, and I feel like it probably is a real cave
Yeah,
somewhere.
it
I,
probably is.
I don't know if it's in Britain, but I'm sure it's a real cave somewhere because
Yeah,
I don't think this movie had the budget to construct a cave that
no.
big. um, but yeah, so the opening scene is basically this guy who's kind of a nerdy dude who is, for some reason, he's just digging in the backyard of this house, kind
Yeah.
of casually digging as an archaeologist, and he finds this massive reptile-looking skull,
And the
like
best
this.
thing is he only dug like not even like a meter into the ground.
Yeah,
Like he's on
exactly.
super fucking surface level.
Yeah, he was just like, "Oh, that's fine. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
2 seconds,"
He,
and
he's not even like knee deep into the ground and he finds the skull of a
yeah,
dinosaur.
yeah, and he, exclaims, "All right, I found something," and he pulls out these, this lady who he's renting. So, okay, I'll say, we find out through this scene he is living in this house that he's digging behind, but it's a boarding house, and he's
Yeah.
renting a room from these two ladies that live there. And the lady comes out and she says, "Oh, what have you found?" And he goes, "Oh, I found this big dinosaur skull." And then they talk about the legend of
She
this.
says like maybe it's a cow or some stupid shit like that.
Yeah, yeah. And I'll say too, I think you mentioned it before we started recording this, that the accents in this
Yeah.
are just the most over the top acted
British and
accents.
Scottish accents, yeah. And like the girl, the one with like the blonde short hair,
Yeah,
she like every line she says, like on the last part of the line, she like raises her voice up like it's a question. What do you found?
yeah.
Oh, we're here. We did that. She always goes like she always raises her voice and it fucking annoyed me.
She has this. It's interesting that I think I don't really know UK accents that well, but I
Yeah.
believe that the girl has a Cockney accent, which is like a hillbilly accent,
Hmm.
and the lord at the castle has a very proper, prim proper. Yes, I'm royalty of the British Crown.
Yeah,
Blah blah
like
blah blah.
Star Wars Empire accent.
Yeah, and then the Scottish guy has the Scottish accent, and I think maybe I don't know exactly why they did that. I think maybe they wanted to help people to, you
Yeah,
know
the
who the
characters.
characters were based on their
Yeah.
accents, maybe, so they could be, oh, it's the one with the Cockney accent, oh, it's the one with the
Mm.
Scottish accent. Um, but regardless, they start talking about this old like snake legend or something along those lines, and he says, "Oh, I found these Roman coins, and you notice the Roman coins have a snake on them."
Yeah.
uh, and they're really
And
unsubtle.
I'm not sure. I didn't do my research on it, and but they always talk about like the one like emperor who like the Roman emperor Marcus something.
Yeah, like it's not a real Roman emperor, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah.
Um,
Maybe he because they said he was like the rebel emperor. Like it could be. Like I don't know all the Roman emperors. I had like
yeah,
Latin classes, so I know a few. But
yeah.
I'm pretty sure that the statue the woman has in her home,
It's Julius Caesar.
it's Julius Caesar.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not that guy. Like,
Yeah.
and the guy on the I think the guy on the coin is Nero. I'm not sure, but I
Yeah.
think he is like. But the statue is like they
It's
could
just
have used like
Julius
some
Caesar.
underground like there were so many fucking emperors like you could just use some nobody would have known it but it just used the most famous one
Yeah.
and she
Yeah, I
even
thought
says like oh that statue nobody has that one
yeah.
that's the weird thing like everybody who has a Roman statue of an emperor has fucking Julius Caesar.
Yeah, exactly. It was yeah, hilarious. Yeah. Yeah, it's just Caesar. Um so yeah, they have this weird little interaction in the yard here, and after that they go to a party because they've been invited there by a rich guy.
Yeah,
And there's like this folk band playing in
yeah,
at the party. And I will say this too: the party is in like the town castle, which is
yeah,
really it's I don't know how realistic that is, but it's really cool. Uh,
yeah,
that the rich guy just throws parties in his massive palace.
yeah, and I wrote that down like on the like they're like a kind of like cowboy hillbilly band
Yeah,
but English I guess.
yeah,
And the guitarist has like a red custom double binding Telecaster, and
really.
that's worth like $5,000. Like that's a super fucking expensive guitar. But the best part of it, it's a fucking acoustic guitar in the song. And
Yes, I
obviously you can play like an electric guitar in clean, but it doesn't sound like an acoustic guitar. So
no, and
instead of getting like a $20 acoustic guitar, they got this fucking €5,000 custom
yeah,
Telecaster. And it's like, all right,
I wonder if maybe that guy was like I wonder if he's known or if he's in a band. I mean, he
yeah,
must be in a
maybe
band.
it's
He
a real
probably owns
band.
the yeah, maybe. But it yeah, and I think they're even playing like something like a mandolin or a banjo or something in the
Yeah,
song, and there's no one playing that instrument, I don't think.
no, there's a violin, and there's clearly a violin in the song. And the guy who played the guitar played like the legitimate chords and shit. Like I kind
Yeah.
of always check on that when I see movie bands because I think
Mhm.
it's funny when the drummer, like in the Lots of Chaos movie, like Hellhammer wasn't doing like the thing he was doing at all.
Yeah.
But like the guy was playing legit chords, so he was probably a musician and just said like, "Yeah, I got this guitar. I'll bring it to the
Yeah.
when we film the movie." And then like I don't know, he probably wanted to show off. Just
Yeah. I'm in a movie now.
yeah,
Yeah, because I think the other guy playing was I think it was like a guitar player, a bass player, and a violin player. And
yeah.
there
I
was
think the
definitely something
violin
like
was a girl.
yeah, and there was definitely a mandolin being played somewhere in that song. So,
Yeah,
but yeah, that was funny. And so I have a question. Did you hear the lyrics to the song?
it was something about like a worm who grew bigger and bigger and then like ate everybody. And it was basically a song about the story of the like dragon being killed, kind of.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it was the story of the legend of the white
Yeah.
worm. They're they just they talk about it all the time.
Yeah, and
And
there's like a lot of like nice like visual things. Like in the very beginning when he like tucks out the skull, the girl throws in like a white water hose, and it's like because when it fills with water, it's like twangling on the ground,
mhm.
and that's like because you have the title like Lair of the White Worm. It's like oh right, like this white water hose, and later in the movie, a girl falls over like a white vacuum cleaner with a like white tube, and you have all these like little things, which I
They
thought was really cool.
yeah, they reference it all the time. Every moment they
Yeah,
can put a reference to like some of them are so subtle that think to myself, do they mean to reference it there, or am I just
Yeah,
making
yeah.
those? Like, am I making that up?
Like with the vacuum cleaner, I wasn't even sure. I was like, maybe, who
Yeah,
knows?
yeah. Or
And
like
like the
the
first time,
hose on the ground. Like, come
yeah,
on.
and the first time you see the villainess, like she's dressed like in all white.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
it's like,
Yeah, they're always bringing it back to that.
yeah,
So at the party, also speaking of the references to it, there's like a Chinese dragon styled white worm that they bring
yeah,
in. The big dragon, white dragon, Chinese style dragon, and the
like the
guy who's the
custom, yeah,
descendant cuts it in half. It's like they're really building up this legend,
yeah,
and it's actually quite, I think, quite well done.
yeah, it is. You
So
get it like after 5 minutes, you get it. You go, all right, it's a small town with this like old legend. This
mhm,
guy is an ancestor. There's a huge like thing about it. They celebrate it and all that stuff. There's paintings everywhere. You're
yeah,
like, all right,
yeah. So then I think it's the after party. They go to this buffet table where there's like raw squid and
yeah,
all kinds of weird raw seafood. And the the rich guy that lives in the castle and the Scottish guy that's been digging in the ground, they meet for the first time.
yeah,
And you learn that the rich guy owns the house that the two main female characters of
yeah.
the movie live in.
He's the landlord. Yeah,
Yeah, so he's all, oh, if you find anything interesting in the ground, you let me know. It's my
yeah.
property.
And the
And
best thing, no, while that scene happens,
yeah,
like people come to like the buffet, and he's just like putting things on their plates they didn't even ask for.
yeah,
And I don't know if it's supposed to be there, but one woman just like looks at the food, like kind of like disgusted for a while, and then just walks away. And he just like keeps on like putting more and more food on everyone's plate while talking to the guy, not even like looking there.
I didn't notice that. That's good.
Yeah, it's I was laughing.
I also I liked this line where they kind of slipped it in where the rich guy says to the Scottish guy, he goes, if you find a chastity belt, let me know. The maids have been, something about like the maids have been like sleeping around too much or something like that.
Yeah,
And I thought that was pretty good. If you find any chastity belts, um, and yeah, I don't know. I just like that line. And then the guy ends up eating like pickled worms, of course.
yeah,
That's a big part of it. And yeah, once again, worm references.
yeah. And he says like like the legend about the worm, like you can't take like worm literally
Yeah,
because it's like an old word for dragon or snake.
yeah, like
And
worm
and he
spelled. Go ahead.
yeah, and he also says like the German word like Wurm and stuff, like it's all the same words and it
Yeah,
all means like dragon in like every language basically.
yeah. In English, you'd spell it like yeah, WYRM
Yeah.
worm. So
Wurm.
it's that kind of film. Yeah,
Mhm.
and so then afterwards, the short blonde-haired girl and the Scott guy, they're like, oh, we're gonna leave the party. We're gonna head out early,
Mhm.
and they go to this walking path to get back to the house, and
Yeah.
and the girl says something like, "Oh, I don't ever take this pathway anymore." And the guy's like, "Well, why not?" And she's like, "Oh, my parents disappeared here like 6 months
Yeah.
ago." It's just out of nowhere.
Yeah, out of nowhere. And like that's in every movie and in that scene too. Every time like someone takes a walk and they talk while walking,
Mhm.
they always stop to stand there, obviously because it's like easier to film. And
Mhm.
then they have the dialogue for like 5 minutes and they're just standing there. And
Mhm.
then they walk a few meters and then they stop again to have the next dialogue. And in
Yeah.
that movie too, like I, that's not how people work. Like
No.
we walked all the way like on Sunday
Yeah.
and talked all the time. I think we never like stopped just to talk.
No, it's no one does that. It's a
Yeah.
total movie thing for sure. And so I just thought it was funny that she says something like, oh, I'm only walking down this pathway with you
Yeah.
because you're my strong Scotsman,
Mm.
and hitting on him, whatever. But I thought it was so weird that why would you be like, okay, we're gonna go down the path where people disappear?
Yeah.
Like, I mean, I guess it's a shortcut or whatever, but it was just,
Yeah,
yeah,
she says it's like an old shortcut or something.
yeah. And then you get this weird, yeah, they start getting kind of hot and heavy, they're kissing.
Mm.
She's like, "Oh, my parents just died," or my parents just have been missing for six
Yeah.
months, and he's like, "Oh, well, do you have a boyfriend?"
Yeah.
It's like,
And she's like
nice.
kind of pissed off. She's like, No, I don't have one, and I can't take one right now or something." And they just like start kissing, like, oh well, might as well.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like, nice, dude. That was smooth. But then, yeah, then we get a shot of the car. It's a really cool old car.
Yeah.
I don't know old cars that well, so I don't know if it's like a German car or not. But or not German car. I
I
mean
think
a
it's
British.
like an Italian car or something.
Well, what I think it might have been is an old Shelby Cobra because
Yeah,
it's a
that's because
snake.
it looks kind of snaky, and I or like yeah, it looks like kind of like super smooth and long.
Yeah, because
And that was the thing, and I think is even white. And
I
I
think so.
saw
Yeah.
it, and I was like, oh, is that a reference, or did it just like pick like a cool looking car?
Yeah, and the car that I thought it was when I first saw it, I thought that it was a Corvette Stingray when I
Hmm.
first saw it, but a Stingray obviously wouldn't play into the joke. It just looks menacing. But
Yeah,
the if it was a like I'm like I said, I'm not a car guy, so I don't exactly know. But if it was
yeah,
an old Shelby Cobra, that would be a really
it would be
good
perfect. Yeah,
reference. Yeah. And the car drives and they say, "Oh, the headlights aren't on," even though the headlights were on.
the headlines are on.
But
The guy doesn't even like care, and the
yeah,
girl's like, "That scared me," and he was like, "Why? It's just like a car. Like, it's not like even the car like drives
yeah,
by like on there's like a clear road there. It's just like a normal car driving by super normally, not super fast,
yeah,
not super slow, like a normal car would drive by at night with
yeah,
headlights on. It doesn't stop and look for them or anything. It just drives by, and she freaks the fuck out. And I think he even says to her like the headlights were on or something like that.
yeah, something like that. Yeah, it was a very weird scene. I don't
And
know where
that's
else.
like
Yeah,
if she would have said like because like said the car kind of looks like a huge snake. She
sure.
would say like, "Oh, I was so scared. I thought it was the white dragon for a while." It would be
Yeah,
like it would make wait may it would it would make way more sense. That's difficult to say.
yeah,
Because it's like, oh, they kind of believe in the legend, and
sure.
maybe she thinks or knows that her parents were like killed by the snake or whatever. But no, she's
Yeah,
just afraid of cars, I guess.
yeah, exactly. So so then in the next scene, we get back to the house and there's just a police officer hanging out in their
Yeah.
house and he's like, hey, let myself in and got myself some tea, and it's like
Mm.
you can't just let yourself into someone's house, dude.
Especially not like in the middle of the night.
Yeah, and especially it's like, oh, there's two young women living here, I'm just gonna let myself into their house in the
Yeah.
middle of the night and wait for them to get home.
And he
um
has the fucking like hanging eye.
yeah, he's got, yeah, lazy eye, yeah.
Yeah, the
But
lazy eye. Yeah.
he's actually a great character, I thought.
He is a cool guy. Yeah.
I liked him.
He's also like nice. Like it. Yeah. Before something happens.
Yeah. And so he's a fine character. And then the reason he's at the house is he found the pocket watch of the father of these two girls that disappeared.
Yeah.
So he says, okay, well, here's the pocket watch. I'm gonna, I'm gonna go now. See ya.
Yeah.
And
He had to give it to them like in the middle of the night.
yeah, exactly.
Like he couldn't wait until tomorrow. Like maybe they were already sleeping. He doesn't know.
Yeah, or like, what if that scene in the woods where they were getting hot and heavy, what if that progressed? What if they were like, "Oh, let's go home and
Yeah.
fuck." And then
Yeah.
and then the cops just there like, oh, here's the pocket watch of your dead father. Uh, I'll be off. It's like that killed the mood, you know.
Yeah.
So, but that happens, and then the girl mentions something like, "Oh, I saw this car drive by on the
She says
road."
like a scary looking car or something. Like,
Yeah,
yeah, it's not like a car you see every day,
it's like
but
a
still
rich
like
person's
it's
car.
yeah,
I feel like if I saw a car that like would be worth like $50,000 or whatever,
yeah,
I would call it what you will. I probably wouldn't be that worried. I'd be like, oh, some
yeah,
rich person got turned around on a back road or something.
yeah.
But no, she tells the cop, she says, oh, there's a scary car driving around.
No, she even says like it's driving to the abandoned house.
Yeah, yeah,
But like, why did is it like the only road that goes to the abandoned house? Doesn't she can drive like somewhere else?
yeah,
How does she know?
yeah, exactly. And
And then again, the abandoned house isn't even an abandoned house
yeah,
because then the police guy goes there because like the girl said like you should check it out,
mhm,
and it turns out like the villainess lives there, and
yeah,
it's not like she broke into the house or something. She just like lives there.
yeah. And I think something along the lines of she goes to it's supposedly like the springtime,
Yeah,
and the rich lady she goes to the south for the summertime, which is
yeah,
again a hint at the snake
yeah,
reference, everyone. Hibernating for the winter or going somewhere
yeah.
warm in the wintertime because cold-blooded, you remember everyone. Uh,
Oh,
uh,
not only that, the police officer gets bit by a snake while he walks to the house.
yes, he gets bit by a snake, and I remember there's like a kind of a cheeky interaction where he before the lady shows up and before he gets bit, he's on his walkie-talkie talking to the guy at the police station. And
Yeah,
it's really funny where he's like you need to come here now. And the guy's
yeah,
like, you have the car, I can't go there. And
yeah.
he's like, well, take a cab. And he's like, no, we arrested the cab driver last week for
Because of drunk driving.
yeah, because
Yeah.
of drunk driving. And he's like, well, take a bicycle. It's just
And
it's
he's
like
like, I have food, and he's like, take a bicycle. Like, I don't care for your food. I got a
yeah,
flat tire. Like, then
yeah,
use the pump to pump it up, like in the middle of the night. And he's like, my
yeah.
pump's broke. Well, then shove the pump up your ass.
Yeah, yeah, that's what he says too. Shove the pump up your
Yeah.
ass. That was
He's
just that
kind of the
was
comedic relief, I guess, but not
yeah,
like in a stupid, like completely in your face way. It's subtle, but it's nice.
yeah. It's
I
funny
like it a
because
lot.
yeah, it actually fit really well. Like, I mean, it made me chuckle for how
Yeah,
silly the interaction was. It was well
yeah,
done. And then yeah, then after that he gets bitten on the leg, and it goes back to the cheeky interaction where he's like, "Oh, I got bit here," and
mm,
out from like behind a tree, the villainess shows up in this 100% white outfit,
yeah.
and she has this cowl on, like a headdress on, and she
She's
looks,
always very like a snake. She always has like her hair is like slick back and
yeah,
tight clothes and shit.
yeah, and he goes, oh, a snake stung me, and
Yeah,
she's like, snakes don't sting, they bite, you fucking moron. and and she's like, oh, you gotta come into the house now.
yeah. She always talks very erotic.
Yeah, and I will say, I'll say it now. The villainess in this movie is the sexiest villainess I have seen in a movie like this. She is so good. Uh,
Yeah,
just like the actress, she just like oozes this like sexy attitude that
yeah,
really plays into the character so well.
yeah.
And
It's super important. The whole like sexual like erotic thing is a
yeah,
huge
she
point
does
later in the movie.
she does a great job of
Yeah,
playing that up. And I think if it was a different actress who wasn't as committed to the role, it would not have worked at all.
no,
But she does a fantastic job of, yeah, the seductress.
yeah.
And like, because even the next scene when he got bit by the snake, the she's sucking the venom out of his
Yeah,
leg.
it hard cuts to like a Quentin Tarantino like close up of his naked foot with
Yeah,
her just like sucking on his leg, like, oh, I'll
yeah,
suck the poison out.
but it's very
And
like sensual.
yeah, it has like the slow like
Yeah,
music
oh,
playing,
slow
like
jazz. Yeah,
yeah. And then that's a very, very subtle thing, and I don't yet again I don't know if it's intentional, but she like sucks the poison out,
yeah,
but she never like spits it out. She never
yeah.
like
She
takes
like wipes her
the
mouth.
glass. Yeah, she wipes her mouth, and I was like, when you spit the poison out, I don't know. It's like, yeah, well, makes sense now.
Yeah, exactly. And so that scene happens to just essentially so the villainess can learn about the stuff that's been going on in the
Yeah,
movie. They say, oh, they found a snake skull, or not a snake skull, a dinosaur skull or whatever
yeah.
in the backyard of the house. And there's this kind of weird break-in scene where the villainess breaks into the house,
Well,
and
well, the door is like completely open. She
yeah,
just like walks in. Is like, is anybody here?
yeah,
And she checks all the rooms,
hmm
and nobody's there. And then she finds like the dinosaur skull
yeah,
like sitting on the table of the room of
yeah.
the guy.
I thought it was actually really that sequence was really well shot because there's a
Yeah,
lot of like no cuts. There's you
no,
see
it's a super long shot.
Yeah, you see like a bunch of different rooms that she goes and checks, and it's all this long continuous shot of her walking up the
Yeah,
staircase and checking all the rooms, and then when she sees the skull, the camera angle is very interesting, where it's kind of like behind the skull and the skull is
it's
in the
behind the skull.
foreground.
Yeah,
Yeah, and it's very like a very slow kind of ominous shot, and I think it was
yeah.
done really well.
hmm
And she decides, yeah, I'm going to steal this skull because she
Well,
knows.
before she steals it, she just like
Oh,
massages it almost like with her like leather gloves.
yeah, yeah. She's got her leather gloves on. And she's like, caressing
Yeah,
the skull, and yeah, and she takes it, and I think that's when yeah, she that's the scene where she
yeah.
spits on the crucifix, right?
She walks by a crucifix, and like out of nowhere there's like a hissing sound, and she has like huge fangs, and
Yeah,
she like spits like green spit on a crucifix, and I was like, fuck yeah.
yeah.
Like it
It's
just went like from 0 to 100, like no explanation, no like build up. It's just like will,
yeah, and her eyes are
and
all
that's
like
it. I was,
yellow, like snake
yeah,
eyes, and
it's
that
just
that.
like the like ellipse, like irises.
hmm Well, that's because up until this point in the movie, you're kind of like waiting for something to happen, or like, you're
Yeah,
kind of like, all right, yeah, what's going on here? You got this
yeah,
kind of sexy lady, you got these kids walking around in the doing archaeology, and then yeah, the
yeah,
scene just out of nowhere, she just turns to the crucifix with the yeah, and just
yeah.
it's really cool,
It
and
is.
that's when you're kind of like, okay, now we're in it, now we're in it,
Yeah.
and
But
you
it's not that late into the movie. It's only like 20 minutes or like
yeah,
half an hour or something.
I think it's probably only 20 minutes. It's really not that far into it.
Yeah.
But it was yeah, that scene happens, and then I think she leaves, and then the rich British guy and the
Lord.
long-haired sister, yeah,
Yeah, the
the
sister
Lord,
of. Yeah, she also owns the house, I guess.
I guess. Yeah, it's kind of hard to tell. But I guess, and he's like complaining about like getting blue balled the night before.
Yeah.
He's like, he's like, we stayed up all night dancing. It's like, yeah, all right, dude. But then one of the coolest scenes in the movie happens where
Yes.
the guy's like getting ready to leave, and the girl
No,
goes up.
it's like yeah, she sees the watch of her father, and she's like,
Yeah,
oh my god, oh my god. I gotta go like upstairs and get to rest now. I'm so uh shocked or
yeah, like
whatever.
overwhelmed, yeah,
Um
emotional.
yeah.
Um, but then, do you want to tell this part?
Yeah, because I was freaking out.
Yeah,
I wrote down the time and
yeah,
immediately like cut it out and like saved it, and I have a huge file of like samples, movie
yeah.
samples,
It's
and
one of the coolest scenes in a movie. It is so
yeah,
good.
I already thinking about like using it for a like preview video of RAP or something because it's
Yeah,
so
yeah,
she like gets to the bedroom and sees the cross with like the green slime on it, and she's like, oh, what's that? And she, like wipes it off, and it like hardcore flashes. She just starts screaming and falls over, and it hardcore flashes to like a very like weird, almost like it looks like from the Holy Mountain almost.
yeah. It's like
It's just like
psychedelic fever dream.
yeah, it's like Jesus Christ hanging on the crucifix with like four completely white nuns
Yeah,
in front of him, like praying, and it just like then out of nowhere the background becomes like just like flames everywhere. Roman guards come in and like start slaying the nuns and like ripping their clothes off and start raping them.
yeah.
The snake woman sits beside the cross and just like laughs, and the huge white snake dragon is like twisted around Jesus Christ, biting his fucking arm off. Like nuns get raped under it, and it's like screams, flames are everywhere. There's like a naked snake woman screaming and laughing like a maniac, and I'm like,
It's
what the fuck?
yeah, and it's
And
like
it's like two, no, it's like maybe like 40 or 50 seconds,
yeah,
but it feels like half an hour because it's like it's so overwhelming, so much happens, and I was like,
it's
yes,
yeah, it's such a good scene where it's like because I mean the rest of the movie is like so kind of well it's like you're in the English countryside. It's very slow,
yeah,
kind of gray
grounded,
skies, and everyone's kind of like, oh, would you like to go over here? No, I'd
yeah,
like to go over there. You know, so this scene it just comes out of nowhere, and it
yeah,
is oh my god, it's so cool. And I mean the scene too, like with the nuns, it's like this the centurions take their swords and stab their swords through their arms to like pin their arms
yeah,
to the ground,
yeah,
and it's just I mean it's a brutal scene. It's so
yeah,
cool.
and like visually, it could be because it's like in some movies, like obviously, like it's terrible green screen, but because it's old, and that scene was probably not filmed with a green screen, but like a dark blue screen. And then like the sky is just like flames and it's done like that. And it doesn't look great. But because the scene is so psychedelic, I think it even adds to it and makes it looks even cooler.
I think so.
And the snake woman has some like she's like light blue and has like some dark blue stripes on her. And
Hmm.
they were probably the same color as the backdrop.
Yeah, because
So she's
half her
like
face is gone. Yeah,
partially flaming too, and I was like, oh, this is super cool.
it's an awesome scene.
Yeah,
That scene when I first watched this movie, that scene when that scene happened, I was like, I don't care what happens the rest of this movie. This movie's awesome now.
yeah,
It's so good.
yeah. That
And
was my reaction too.
yeah, I'm glad you had the same reaction because it's so cool. And so then that happens, uh, and it's just like I said, a fever dream, and the girl wakes up, and the guy is like the lord, the British lord is like, oh, what's going on? And she's like, oh, I just had a dream, or she kind of like half explains what happened, or no, she
Yeah,
doesn't remember.
yeah,
She doesn't remember
and
what happened.
yeah, and then he was like, "What did you do?" And she was like, "I grabbed me father's watch and I put
Yeah,
me father's watch in me pocket."
yep.
And and he pulls out the watch and opens the watch, and it's super cool too because like the um
The hands on the watch.
yeah, they're like not like normal arrows anymore. They're like look like a snake basically, like two
Yeah,
snakes.
yeah,
And he's like super casually like, that's not what it looked like before, right? And shows it to her, and she goes fucking apeshit and was like, now I remember there was a crucifix with a snake around it. And he's like, oh, like the one outside? And she's like, there's no snake outside. And he's like, yeah, there's a snake outside. And she's like, no. And he's like, yes, look. And she's like, I don't want to see it. And he's like, you have to. And they go outside, and on the like like thing like the archaeologist dug out where he found the skull. He
Hmm.
seems to like have been digging some more, and he found like an old Roman mosaic of like um yeah, just like a cross, a crucifix with a white snake around it,
Yeah.
just like in the dream. And she's like, yeah, that's what it looks like. And then they're like, all right, fine, it's basically nothing, and they drive away.
Yeah, don't worry about the fact that your watch hands magically changed into a snake.
Yeah,
That's that's normal.
yeah.
And uh, and oh, I think also the Scottish guy and the short haired girl show back up too
Oh yeah, because
because the skull
yeah,
goes
right.
missing, or the
Yeah,
lady turned
the
skull.
two people are looking for the skull. I just remembered they're looking for the skull around the house, and then the short-haired guy and the Scottish guy come in. They're like, oh, like spring cleaning or something. I think he says,
Yeah,
and they're like, the skull is gone, and they're like, well, too bad, I
yeah,
guess. He isn't like really upset about it.
yeah. It's
Um,
very odd. Like you said, like everyone acts like there's no anything that happens that's crazy. People would just kind of accept it.
yeah, it's like maybe in this world, like super normal things are not super normal
Supernatural.
and supernatural. Yeah, they're just like normal things that happen.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah,
I don't know, maybe so no one's like super shocked by like a woman turning into like a snake or something like that, and they're all like,
yeah.
ah, this shit again.
Yeah, and so then they decide, okay, well, we're gonna go. Like they leave for whatever reason, and
Yeah,
it cuts to this scene with this like Boy Scout kid.
yeah, I guess
He's like a boy.
he looks like
I
a
don't know what.
park ranger.
Yeah, I don't know what the like. I don't know what the UK equivalent is of a Boy Scout, but he's some teenage kid with yeah, like a park ranger hat on and a big
Yeah,
backpack, and it's like pouring rain
a
outside.
rucksack. He even says a rucksack, which I
Does he?
was, yeah, he says a rucksack. I even write it down because I thought it
Oh,
was so funny. I
that
don't
is
know if
funny.
it's a UK thing to say
I don't
rucksack.
know.
Everybody not knowing rucksack is the German word for backpack.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
it's just like maybe a big backpack is called a rucksack. I don't know.
yeah. They do call it a. I think that people will say rucksack in English,
Yeah.
but it's much less common than backpack.
Mm,
It's like an. I guess I would hear it if I heard it. I would think it's like an old timey term.
yeah.
But yeah. So this scene reminded me of the scene from the first Friday the 13th movie where it's kind of already kind of far into the movie and they just have this random character on the side of the road. Like in Friday the 13th, there's some like hippie girl hitchhiking or whatever.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
And so I saw this scene, and the first thought in my head when I first saw this movie was, this kid's gonna die.
Yeah. I
I
don't know
knew.
why. I thought of like something like Texas Chainsaw Massacre. I don't know why.
Mhm.
It's just like it popped into my head like, oh right, like he's gonna get picked up
Yeah,
probably by the lady and then he's gonna die. And that's exactly what happens.
yeah. Well, because it's like it, in Friday the 13th, they do it so they can have a kill early on in the movie without it
Yeah.
affecting the plot. Same thing with this kid. They do it early on in the movie and he's completely unattached as well to the main plot. So you just see how evil the villain is.
Yeah, no, but it helps the lore too.
Oh yeah.
Because like she does like the James Bond thing where she kind of like explains her
Yeah.
like shtick, I
Monologuing.
guess,
Mhm.
before like killing the guy.
Yeah.
But yeah, like she picks him up and is like, where do you need to go?
Yeah.
And he's
And
like, yeah, over there. And
yeah.
she's like, oh, you're like so soaking wet. I'll bring you to my home so you can like dry off.
Yeah.
And he's like fine with it.
Well, the thing is too is when he gets in the car, he like she's wearing these stockings with the clips at the top
Yeah,
and she's wearing a dress with it, but has the dress very like pulled to the side, and you just like
yeah,
see her. The kid is like he's like all getting like horny, like looking at her thigh,
yeah.
and she's like, "Why don't you come to my place and I'll give you something?" And he's like, "Yeah, all right, let's go." Uh, some dumbass kid, and it's a great scene where it opens up in her house and she's just
Yeah,
lying. There's like a bed of pillows in her living room, and
yeah,
she's lying there in this like black lingerie, just straight up
yeah.
lingerie, like a thong and like a lace
And the
bra,
bra
and then
and
like this like mesh overcoat.
like latex over kneel like
Yeah, those
boots.
boots.
Yeah, they're like complete like super tight like latex high heels that go like like way over her knee.
Yeah, they're like fetish boots for sure.
Yeah,
And it's this teenage kid is just like he doesn't really act like he knows what's going on. Like
no,
he acts like, oh well, this lady who's like, because I'll say this lady too. She's probably like 40, something
yeah,
like
or
that.
like I think she's in her late like 30s.
Yeah, but obviously like an older character who, I mean, she's immortal or whatever, but a
Yeah,
character who's a fully grown woman, and yeah, she's like picked up this kid who's like, I mean, he looks like he's like 16 or something like
yeah.
that. He's like a boy, and she's just like seducing him. And another snake reference they make is they're playing shoots and ladders, but
And
it's
that's the funny
snakes
thing.
and
Like
ladders.
I laughed out because like she's there in this like sexy outfit in
Hmm.
front of like the oven, and you think like, all right, it's gonna be like an erotic scene or like even like a after sex scene,
Yeah,
and it just like then it just cuts to them like playing snakes and ladders in the
yeah,
fucking outfit. It just plays snakes and ladders,
yeah.
and
And
I don't know if it's the original like snakes and ladders board,
I don't
but
know,
it
but it looks
has like a
awesome.
yeah, it has like a huge white snake on it again.
Hmm. Yeah,
I think they did it for the movie because their art is also like a bit like gruesomely looking, I say, not like something
yeah,
on a child's play. It looks like kind of super realistic, I guess.
yeah, definitely. Um, and then there's this weird kind of scene that happens with this kid where he pulls out a harmonica for some reason
Yeah,
and he starts
but they,
playing
they
the.
talk
Oh, they did
because
talk about it. Yeah,
yeah, because they listen to music in your car, and he was
hmm,
like, "Oh, I like music. I can play the harmonica or something like that."
yeah,
It
that's right.
was-
Yeah, and he starts playing the harmonica and she starts like she like stops whatever she's doing and she starts like basically it's like a reference to snake charmers, and
yeah,
she starts like dancing towards him uh in like a belly dancer almost.
yeah.
And it's kind of this weird like she's in like this hypnotic sequence, and then he stops playing it for a second. She like grabs it from him real quick.
Yeah,
She's like, we're not doing that anymore.
this music gets me all silly or something. She
Yeah,
says something like that.
yeah. And it's a really like I said, it's just a funny scene where it's like this, I don't know, like this kid who, because he still just acts oblivious the whole
Yeah,
time. And then it cuts to the scene where they're in this like massive bathroom, like a
yeah.
jacuzzi tub
It looks
bathroom.
like a Roman bathroom kind of yet
Yeah,
again.
I guess that's a good point. And because yeah, Roman themed, yeah. And she's like washing him. She's laying on her side in her, fetish boots and black thong, and she's washing the kid. And she makes him stand up, and she's like hitting on him. And I can't tell if she like bit his dick or what.
I guess because you hear that hissing sound again that you already heard when like
Yeah,
she spit it across and stuff, and
yeah,
he's like then after he's paralyzed, so I guess she like pretends to go down on him, and
yeah,
then she like probably like bites his dick, and like poisons him,
yeah,
and he's like paralyzed and like falls into the water and just like sitting there, and she's like, "You're a vegetable now."
yeah, yeah. She's like, she's so good at being evil, or she's just telling this kid like, oh, you need to learn to enjoy death. Death is a beautiful
Yeah,
thing, and you're going to be a sacrifice to the true God. And
yeah,
starts talking about like worshiping snake gods, and she's like, oh, you should be flattered that I'm going to be sacrificing you.
yeah,
And he's, yeah, just sitting there. The kid actor's actually pretty good, where his like eyes are
yeah.
darting
He is.
He's like freaking out. Uh, and then right before like a big, what I assume is going to be like a big sacrifice, uh, the doorbell rings,
Yeah.
and she's like, "Oh, god damn it!"
No,
And
she says like shit or something. It's kind of
yeah,
slapstick comedy because she has like that great monologue and starts to like raise her voice and stuff.
yeah,
Then like the door rings and she's like, fuck.
yeah. I remember too actually when she said something, and she says the line when she's about to sacrifice the kid. She says to him, "God is not a vegetarian." It was like
Yeah, yeah,
it was cool. I don't know. It was just there's just a lot of good lines in that scene.
yeah,
But yeah, the doorbell rings, and so instead of leaving the kid in the water, she just it's a great shot where she just puts her boot on his head and just pushes him under the bathwater while he's
yeah.
paralyzed and is like, drowns, I assume. We never see the kid again after that.
No.
But yeah, that happens. And that whole scene, I don't know, that whole sequence was really well done, I thought, uh, just for building her up. And yeah, that's I can't remember who was it that came to the house. Wasn't it the Lord guy?
It was the Lord guy, yeah. In his
Yeah.
I don't know, I guess he's an um like pilot
Yeah, I guess.
because he's like in
Yeah.
full pilot outfit there, and he always
Yeah.
has like some kind of like pilot or airplane patch on his jackets. So I
Yeah,
guess he's a pilot.
yeah, like a Royal Air Force thing.
Yeah.
I don't know exactly. I don't know. That might be like a thing that British lords do. I don't know.
Fly
I'm
their
not
own private
English, so
jets.
I'm not English, so I have no idea.
Yeah.
Uh, but yeah, and then like you said, that was I guess part of the reason why they had the scene where this kid got picked up because yeah, there's like still the glasses that they were drinking out of,
Yeah.
and then there's like the board game, and yeah, that's I guess she has this weird scene where she's like caught almost, but I don't know if you want to talk. You can talk about that sequence where she's like trying to convince him that she's like innocent.
Oh yeah, because she's like, oh, I have a huge fear of snakes or something like that. You mean that one?
Yeah, yeah,
And yeah, because he's like he's basically like kind of knows that she's evil, and
yeah,
he's like, oh, like the officer got bit by a snake, like on your ground. We should like look around here for snakes and send like an exterminator or something like that.
hmm,
And he kind of goes in, and then she's just like out of nowhere. She's like, no, all my life I've been afraid of snakes. When I was like 10 years old, I was in a coma for a few weeks because I was bitten by a snake.
yeah,
And then he's like, but you play like snakes and ladders all the time, and you're wearing this fucking like snake coat right now. And because she literally has like a bathrobe on, I guess that's with like snake, which is like snake skin looking.
yeah, yeah. It's like a
And then
snakeskin
she's
print.
like,
Yeah,
she's like, well, I'm afraid of them, but I'm fascinated because of them too.
yeah,
And he's like, well, I buy that. Bye, goodbye. I'm going now. And he
yeah,
just like leaves.
yeah.
And oh yeah, then he goes to bed.
Oh,
And
because they kissed.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, exactly. They kissed. Right, I forgot that.
like right at the end of the scene, because the Lord guy, he's sort of notorious as they call him they call him a fly by night kind of guy,
Yeah,
which basically he just like I guess he fucks a lot. I don't know, but yeah, they kissed right when he leaves.
yeah.
Yeah,
And then he goes to his fucking like huge castle again and then lays in his bed.
yeah,
And he has like a huge picture on his wall of like a knight cutting a white dragon in half, which would be like his ancestor, I guess.
yeah. But it looks
Uh,
like it was painted in like 1940, not
yeah,
like 1500. But I guess that's budget of the movie.
yeah, I guess. And he falls asleep, and it just like while he falls asleep, there's like a shot of the painting, and the dragon and the knight go away, so it's just like the cave, which
Mhm.
we see in the beginning of the shot. And then he's like poorly green screened into the painting and walks into the cave.
Yeah.
Then one of the fucking weirdest dream sequences. But I guess I don't remember a lot of from I barely remember my dreams. But I
Yeah.
guess if I would like visualize my dreams, it would be some weird shit like that.
Yeah,
So it
definitely.
might be one of the best dream sequences or most realistic dream sequences ever.
Yeah. Yeah, it really is realistic because it's like I feel like yeah, I feel like I've had dreams that kind of go with this flow.
Yeah.
Um, you can describe the dream sequence if you want. It's
Oh boy. Well,
yeah,
first of all, there's like kind of like Pokemon like town music playing all the time in the
yeah,
dream. And he goes to an airplane, which I guess kind of saves the point that he's a pilot. I don't know. He
yeah.
goes to an airplane and or villainess. I don't remember her name, Lady something.
Lady, it's like a bunch. It's like three names or something like that. So it's kind of hard
Yeah.
to
Well, the
remember.
the Snake Woman,
The villainess.
the villainess. She opens the door to the plane and he goes in there on the ladder and she kicks the ladder over and closes the door and basically like brings him to a seat and right next to him like it's a private jet so they're like only like three couches I guess
Hmm.
and like two people next to him are like tied up to the chair and are giving like a drink with poison
Hmm.
and you find out that it's the parents of the one girl that vanished because
Yeah,
you saw a picture of them earlier and also the father guy has the watch in his hand but he like doesn't care at all for it
yeah,
and then she comes while that scene happens he's doing like a what's the English word for it where you like paint something after like numbers you follow the numbers
oh,
and like
connect the
connect
dots.
connect the dots and it's like he draws a snake basically.
Well, and it's in a crossword puzzle though. Yeah,
Yeah,
and he
super
tries to.
weird. It's something that would be in your dream, like stupid shit like that. That just doesn't
Yeah,
make any sense.
yeah, and there's like the short-haired blonde girl is like the stewardess that's giving instructions
Yeah,
on emergency landings, but she completely ignores everything else that's going on in the scene.
yeah. Well, like
And
the villainess like poisons the parents.
mhm,
He's doing like this connect the lines thing. Then she comes to him and wants to give him like poison too, and he realizes like, oh no, she just poisoned those two people. But then suddenly he's tied up,
yeah,
and she wants to give him the poison. He's like, no, no, no. And then the long haired sister shows up and like fights with the woman, with the
yeah,
villainess.
it's like a sexy cat fight going on.
Yeah, it's yeah, it is. And while that scene happens, there's a weird shot of him holding the pencil,
Yeah,
more or less like in front of his dick and like raising the pencil like he's getting an erection
yeah,
while he's watching the fight. And I was like, oh, that's weird. And he's just like watching this cat fight between those two women because I think he got a crush on the long-haired blonde girl,
yeah, yeah.
but
That's
maybe
I think that was like
maybe
the girl he
also
was trying to get with beforehand.
yeah. And then like he probably got a crush on the villainess too. So it's
Yeah.
like maybe like this like conflict between those two women he likes,
Hmm.
and they just like fight around. I don't even know. Like then the scene ends, I guess.
Yeah, he like walks.
That
I think
was
he
the
walks
dream.
off the plane at the end.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's a really bizarre dream sequence,
yeah. And it doesn't
and
like serves like a whole of purpose, I guess.
the one purpose I think it does serve is you see the blonde girl's crucifix ring.
Yeah. Oh yeah, you do. That's right. She has like a very like uh I guess nicely made crucifix ring with a crucified Jesus and like some red crystals around it.
Yeah, and that comes up later in the movie.
Yeah. Yeah, right. It's a very subtle like setup, I guess.
Yeah, and but other than that, yeah, it doesn't really serve much of a point. I feel like a lot of these dream sequences in this movie, it was like the director had all these ideas for cool dream sequences,
Yeah.
and was like, I just want to make a movie where people go into dreams all the time,
Yeah.
so I can make
He
this
wanted to
shit.
do like Nightmare on Elm Street, but it was already out, I guess.
Yeah, exactly.
And then he's like, ah, damn it, let's do something with snakes.
Yeah, exactly. So then, like like he gets woken up by his butler,
Yeah.
and I remember he like yells at his butler. He's just like, "Ah, you woke me up in the middle of a dream," and
And
it's like that wasn't like a good dream. I don't think.
no, and the butler is like, well, it might be better. And it's like, well, that's a stupid line, but
Yeah, yeah.
okay.
The butler's a
And
weird character too.
yeah, he is.
I don't understand. Like he's kind of like I can't tell if it's like they couldn't decide if they wanted him to be a cheeky butler or a very obedient butler
Yeah.
because he does both.
Yeah, he's no like Alfred from Batman, but like I guess he tries to be, but fails. I don't
Yeah,
know.
yeah. Yeah. I don't know. He's kind of an odd one of the whole of the
Yeah.
movie. And then yeah, so they wake up and he sees on the newspaper that people were since someone found the pocket watch.
Yeah.
They decided to go up to the cave where the pocket watch was found to go search for the missing parents again. And in the newspaper, it's like, oh, the search has been called off, and they have a photo of the cave, and he's like, hey, that cave just happens to look exactly like the cave in the painting that I walked into in my dream sequence.
Yeah.
And
And the butler's like, yeah, of course you dumbass, because like that's where the legend happens. Like everybody knows it. And he was like, oh, that's news to me.
yeah, it's
It's
like
like,
you're the descendant of the family.
yeah. And you're reenacting the whole thing, and you don't know that in your like small, super small fucking town, there's this gigantic cave.
Yeah. And
And
he's
it's
like,
like,
oh, I haven't been there since I was a boy.
yeah,
It's like, well, like you'd think that you'd know your own history, man. Uh,
it's probably the only fucking cave in the whole town. Like where else should
yeah.
it have happened? Like if
I
not
mean,
there.
and I think like a cave that size would probably be like the tourist industry for that town.
Yeah, especially
Like,
with a story like that.
yeah, like, oh, come see the big cave, come see the lair of the white worm.
Yeah, exactly.
And yeah, so yeah, he goes up to the cave because he's like, oh, I had this weird dream, so now I want to go to the cave. And they go back to the cave, and then they're like, hey, why are we in this cave? It didn't work last time.
Yeah,
Which I was like in that scene, I was like, yeah, why the hell do you want to go to the cave? Like just because you
yeah,
dreamed it. And the only thing I remember them finding in there is the cave drawing.
yeah. With like a woman, like
Yeah,
a person with tits and a huge dick, basically.
yeah,
No,
and
but his reason for going to the cave is, oh, I think the dragon is still alive. And he's
oh
like,
yeah,
that's bullshit. And it's like, well, what? Which I thought was a cool line, like what? Because the dragon was cut in half, and he was like, what happens if you cut a worm in half?
yeah,
It's like, yeah, one part survives. It's like
yeah,
I thought, like, oh, that's clever. And then he's like, yeah, well, why should the dragon be still alive? And he's like, I think the dragon ate your parents. And she's like, that's bullshit. And why would we have to watch then? Like, didn't he eat the watch? And he was like, yeah, he ate the watch, but he couldn't like digest it, and he shit it
yeah.
out. And it's like, where did you find the watch? And like by the river, and where does the river come from? Well, this cave. And he's like, yep, see,
See, a
and
snake ate your parents. Giant snake
yeah,
ate your parents.
and everybody is like, yeah, all right, makes sense. I'm fine with that.
Yeah.
I'm not super. If my parents like vanished and somebody would have come up with that, I would fucking like beat him in the face because it's so like, all right, you
Yeah,
idiot, I
like
guess.
shut the fuck up.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that happens. And what happens after they leave the cave?
Um, the girl with the short, no, the girl with the long hair is like, because the guy and the like the archaeologist and the lord want to go to the like place where the water comes from,
Yeah.
but the girl with the long hair is like, no, I don't want to go there. And then the girl with the short hair is like, well, then I'm not gonna go there too. And then they're like, well, then it is no point because you're the only one who knows these caves like so good. And
Yeah.
then the girl with the long hair is like, well, then just stay here. I'll go to like our house and make tea for the guests or something like that.
Yeah. She's gonna go make tea for the boarding house guests.
Yeah. And she
But
like walks down, and
yeah,
then like our villainess is sitting on a tree in like a complete leather cat suit.
yeah. And she
And
calls
she's
up. Okay, you go
yes,
ahead.
she's like um there was a cat on this tree who couldn't come down, so I climb up the tree and now I can't come down. Can you help me?
Yeah.
And I don't know if it's like indicated, but I guess she ate the cat.
No. I think that she's lying about the cat thing. I think what that scene is it's she if you listen, the sister with the long hair, her name's Eve, and the
Yeah,
snake lady is in the tree, and she's calling out Eve's name.
yeah.
And I think it's like a biblical reference to like the snake in the tree
Ah, yeah,
uh,
that makes
with,
sense.
with Adam and Eve.
Oh,
And
right. Yeah, that's super clever. Damn, yeah, that makes sense.
yeah, I think it's that reference because, like I said, yeah, the character's name was Eve, and
Yeah,
and I guess because Eve she was the one who touched the poison on the crucifix
yeah.
and had this dream. Now the snake lady has some sort of mind control over her. It's like the
Yeah, it's
whole
like it's like when she bites someone, they get like intoxicated with the poison and become snake people. So I
yeah,
guess because she touched the poison, it's basically like if she was bit. So
it's
now
like
she's under her control too.
yeah, it's the same idea as Dracula's thralls.
Yeah,
Exact same thing.
yeah,
So
basically.
yeah, if you get bit, then you fall under the control of this. It's the same rules as vampires,
Yeah,
just a snake instead.
yeah.
Um, and then you get to this
I
weird scene. Oh, go ahead.
wait. I just want to come back to the cat thing.
Yeah,
Now makes way more sense, but I would just have like loved to see like she swallowing a cat, like how a snake eats like everything like on one part,
yes,
and then like their body like forms like the shape with like a huge anaconda eats like a fucking deer.
yeah,
They're like shaped like like a deer,
yeah,
and I would have loved to seen like she like walking around the woods and seeing the cat there and just like climbing on the tree and like eating a cat in like one
yeah.
take. That
That would
would
have
have been
been
cool, but
that would have been awesome. And it would have been it was kind of interesting too that the snake lady is always making references to like swallowing things whole.
yeah,
She makes several references saying like I'm gonna swallow it all or
yeah,
something like that. Um, and yeah, so then that scene happens, and then we cut back to the house, and it's kind of a clever thing where the snake lady is laying in a tanning bed.
yeah, because of like warmth again.
Yeah, exactly. And it's like still kind of wintertime
Yeah,
in the British area, or like it's becoming spring, but it's still kind of cold.
yeah,
And uh, yeah, she has. It's funny too. The tanning bed is like in the middle of an empty room.
yeah.
Like it's just like, oh, this is the tanning bed room uh, of my mansion. And yeah, then she kind of is like talking to the sister and sort of showing the mind control, like what kind of mind control powers she has, and um, uh, kind of just tells the girl, oh, she like pulls out this like big white,
Yeah, she
I
pulls
think it's
out
a tooth.
do
I
you
think
mean
it's
the dildo, the
yeah,
strap-on knife?
yeah,
I don't think
the
it's a tooth.
dildo knife.
I think it's just like out of wood, like carved, like just a sacrifice tool. I don't think it's supposed to be like a tooth or something,
Oh, okay,
because it looks super much like a dick. I think it's
yeah,
just supposed to be like an artsy dick,
yeah,
basically.
and she uses it to like test if this girl's a virgin to see if she's
Yeah,
like proper sacrifice material because she's like Dionin only accepts virgins and the rest
he's
are
like
simply awful.
he's like much like your god.
Yeah.
Our god only likes virgins.
Yeah.
And she has this great monologue about like you've been praying to the false god, like masturbating in the dark and stuff like
Yeah,
that. And I was like, oh, that's a sick fucking sample.
it's so good. Yeah. Is that
Yeah,
in this scene? I don't remember which scene it's in.
it is in that scene. Yes, she
Okay. Yeah.
just like talks to her about her snake god.
Yeah. It's like, I mean, really, they're like most of these scenes with the villainess lady, most of them are just set up so she can monologue about being evil, but they are
Yeah,
so it's perfect. I completely think it's perfect because I don't
yeah,
care. The monologues are so good that I'm just like,
yeah,
keep it going, please.
mm,
Uh, and she's like worshiping a god who's dead upon a cross.
yeah.
It's great. Yeah, great lines. Um, so then she like has the sister call the other sister to tell
No
her that
big. Yeah,
she's
yeah. Well, she tests with the dildo thing. She tests if she's
yeah.
still a virgin by, I guess, like sticking it into her pussy. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know how she can tell. She just is like, "Oh, you are a virgin."
Yeah. You've been a good girl, she
Yeah,
says, I think.
yeah.
And I don't know if like there's another dream sequence, and I don't know if it's like there or like
It
after the
it
call.
is. It's no no no. It's when it's when she looks at her crucifix ring.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. All right, because like then she does the call, and then there's the dream sequence.
Yeah, and it's like in the
Yeah,
middle of the phone call where she like
yeah,
is lying about where she is because she's under this mind control effect. So she's telling her
yeah.
sister, "Oh, I didn't make it back to the house. I'm going
I'm
to
going
London."
to London, I think it is. Yeah,
Yeah, and uh, and then she sees this crucifix ring, and it like snaps her back into reality.
yeah.
And then the snake lady freaks out. The villainess freaks out, and she spits more green slime in the girl's face. And
Yeah,
it cuts to the next dream sequence, which is almost as crazy as the first one.
it looks like a commercial out of like RoboCop or Starship Troopers.
Yeah, except
I thought.
everybody's naked,
Yeah,
and they're all in like it's basically like these nuns are all dressed in white, and they're all impaled on.
nakedly impaled.
Yeah, and it's funny too because like they're impaled, but they still have like their hands up in prayer,
Yeah,
but they got this big spike running through them.
yeah,
And
yeah,
then the villainess is like completely nude. The villainess is nude a lot in this movie, but she's completely
yeah,
nude, and she's like licking one of the bloody impaling spikes like it's a dick, and
yeah.
like sucking on the tip of the impalement pike, and there's like
And right
weird, yeah,
next
like
to her, there's the huge crucifix ring just like floating around in the air.
yeah, it's a wacky little fever dream, and
Yeah,
yeah, and then that's when the kind of the jig is up. That's when everyone says, okay,
yeah,
we know there's a giant snake running around, and we know that there's magical snake stuff happening.
yeah.
Um,
And
but
we're
but
fucking tired
because
of it.
but because because the sister because the sister hung up the phone early,
Yeah.
now something's up.
No,
Now,
because yeah, she screamed in the phone because
yeah,
when she saw the ring, she like fell out of the trance and she was like, ah, what the
yeah,
fuck?
yeah,
And then the sister was like, all right, this is fucking weird.
yeah,
I'll call the train station now because somebody who works at the train station once was a guest in my house.
yeah,
So she calls there and she's like, can you look for my sister?
yeah,
And he's like, well, she's not there. And then
yeah.
they're like, all right, um, let's go to the. Are they going to the abandoned house then?
I think that they go to talk to the Lord guide, or no, the Lord guy's there, and the Lord
Yeah.
guy's like, he's like, he's like, I know how to draw her out.
Oh yeah, yeah, exactly. That's so awesome.
Yeah, and he like looks through his, I guess his like dad's record collection,
Collection, yeah,
and he keeps asking the butler about his dad and his record collection, and the butler just keeps talking like his dad must have gotten around, man. Like his dad was a
yeah,
horny dude. Like
yeah,
every record he pulls out, he's like, oh, I remember the lady that your dad banged when he bought that
yeah. Listen to that record, yeah,
record. And it was even the A side and the B side. He's playing the A side of one of them. He's like, "Oh, I remember the woman that your father brought home with this,"
Yeah,
and then he flips it to the B
try. You should
side.
try the B side. Yeah,
Yeah, he's like, "Try the B side," and then he has this like memory of a different woman that his father brought home on the B side.
yeah. Well, basically, the B side is like a snake dancing music, I
Yeah,
guess, like a
Snake Charmer
flute.
music. Yeah,
Yeah, like do 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 do.
yeah,
And he's like, "All right, pull up the hugest fucking speakers we have on top of my castle."
yeah,
And then it's the only thing that looks stupid in the movie because then he plays the record and it's an outside shot of the castle with two. I have like two huge old hi-fi speakers
yeah,
and they're loud. And
yeah,
they just used a picture of like those kind of speakers, pulled them like with green screen on top of the castle, and just
yeah,
dragged them like bigger, like in Photoshop. And it
yeah.
looks fucking stupid. It looks real bad.
It looks horrible.
And
I,
supposedly those speakers are so fucking loud that you can hear it in the whole city.
yeah, and yeah,
So yeah,
supposedly, yeah.
the villainess is in like this
She's in
basket.
a wicker basket
Yeah,
in
and
her
she
house.
dances out. And I laughed out loud at that scene because that one looks fucking stupid. That's the only thing I can't take serious because it
Oh,
looks so terrible.
yeah, it's like because I mean, yeah, obviously it's a callback to the snake charmer
Yeah,
thing,
snake coming out of the basket. Yeah, of
but
course. But
it's like what she just hangs out in wicker
yeah,
baskets in her
it's
house.
like maybe like a vampire sleeps in a coffin and she just sleeps in a fucking basket. Who
Yeah,
knows?
maybe that maybe that's it. Um, and the funny thing too is like not only does she just kind of like come out of this basket, but she's also wearing like a full snake skin tight
Yeah,
outfit as
yeah.
well.
She
But she does,
changes outfit every scene,
yeah,
and she has
exactly.
the coolest fucking sunglasses,
Yeah, she does every
like
time,
the pointy one, and she has this exactly same model of sunglasses,
but in
but
like five different colors. Yeah,
yeah, matching the rest of her outfit. She's very fashionable.
yeah, and she does this kind of like if it wasn't this actress, once again, it would be a fucking hilariously bad scene. But when she's
Yeah,
kind of like sexy walk dancing to the snake charmer music out of her
yeah,
house, that's pretty. It's actually pretty good.
yeah, it
How
is.
stupid it is, and then that's when after she's gone because she's getting charmed out, and
Yeah,
then yeah, the Scottish guy and the short haired girl sneak into the house and that's where they have where they look at the bust in the front entryway.
yeah, the Julius Caesar bust.
Yeah, and they're just like, she's I can't remember who says something, but basically I think it was like the
The
girls just like,
archaeologist guy.
yeah,
It's
yeah,
the archaeologist guy. He's like, wait a second, that's weird, and she's just like, it's a statue. First of all, it's not a statue, it's a bust. But
yeah.
like everybody has those. He's like, nobody has him. He's Marcus something. The
Marcus Arnenius or something like that.
yeah, he's the rebel emperor.
Yeah.
And I
Yeah,
was like, that's fucking Julius Caesar.
it is. Well, I remember they could have gotten away with it because most of the time when you see that bust, it's from like a distance away.
Yeah,
But in that scene, when they're like, "Don't you know who this is?" It like cuts to a close up of that
yeah,
statue, and it's just fucking Julius Caesar.
yeah, yeah. Or they could have just. There are so many emperors. They could have just gotten like anyone, and nobody.
Yeah,
Like even if they took like Nero or something, nobody would have fucking known him.
yeah. Or just like, I mean, if you're gonna have like this supposedly like snake god worshiping emperor, use one of the like famously like like even if you're gonna rename them, at least use the bust of one of the famously like bad emperors or like deviant
Yeah,
emperors. Like use Caligula, use Nero, use somebody like that.
Diocletian, somebody,
Yeah, somebody that's like known for being like debaucherous and
or
but
like
no, yeah,
anti-Christian. Yeah.
yeah, something like that. And it's like, no, we're gonna use Julius Caesar. uh, yeah, that's just a funny nitpick, I guess.
Yeah.
But then there's the weird stuffed animal of the mongoose attacking the cobra. It's like a
Yeah.
taxidermy thing, and they're just kind of walking around her house. And I don't know how to explain how this scene happens, but they stumble into a room and find the girl's mom watching TV.
Yeah, watching like a girl dancing with an anaconda snake.
Yeah, and you're kind of
It
like,
looks like
oh,
something from Get Out. It's a very like shot that could have been in Get Out. Like
yeah.
she's
Well, it's
it's a huge room and it's only like the TV and her sitting there in the middle of the room just watching the TV.
yeah, and yeah, it's a weird scene. But the girl's like, "Oh, mom, good to see you," and it's like, "Oh,
Yeah.
where have you been?" Blah blah blah. And
The mom starts laughing.
well, and it's another one of those kind of you don't really expect it to go this way because the movie is usually so.
I fucking jumped on that one. It's
I
not a
did
jump scare,
too.
but I fucking jumped on it.
Yeah,
It scared me a lot.
yeah, and because the movie, it's not like because I wouldn't call this a horror movie. I would call it like a thriller, mostly like a thriller.
Well, yeah, it's like a supernatural or like a mystery thriller with like horror elements.
Yeah,
That's
but
that's something I wanted to say later. It's actually like it feels like a Hammer film, like a Hammer
yeah,
monster movie,
it
which
definitely does.
were like horror movies, but like not like to the today's standards, I guess.
Yeah,
I guess like something like Wolfman, you could have nowadays you can say it's kind of a thriller too, or
yeah,
Frankenstein or something.
sure.
It just feels like a monster movie, I guess. It doesn't feel like a classic horror movie, but like a monster movie, where the
Yeah,
focus is
exactly.
on the monster and not like being scary, but just like, oh look, we got this cool monster there.
Yeah, and so we have this scene where once again the movie is normally just so kind of slow and calm that this scene where like the mom just kind of jumps out of the chair and bites the daughter on the neck.
Yeah,
It's extremely well paced, and it made me jump too, and it's awesome. And the
yeah,
girl's like you know like falls to the ground, and the guy kind of scares the mom away with some like a log from the fire,
yeah,
and the mom too has like all this like blood coming like pouring down her face from biting her
yeah,
daughter on the neck. It's because she has these big snake fangs too, and it's cool as hell. And then another fever dream starts. Um, and do you remember this one?
I was just thinking about it.
It
Is it another Jesus one?
No, it's the one where it's the short-haired blonde girl and all the like famous like like the blue faced Celts.
Oh yeah,
They like come in
they,
with these
they,
like
they come in with like the strap on knife dildos.
yeah, and they like fully impale the
Yeah,
short-haired blonde girl.
yeah, exactly. Now I remember.
And once again, the like snake woman is like laughing like a maniac in the
Yeah,
background.
in the very beginning, there's like her head, and she opens her mouth, and they like the Celts run out of her mouth,
Yeah,
basically,
yeah,
which looks
and,
super cool.
yeah. It's another yeah. All the fever dream sequences in this are really
Yeah,
just cool
yeah,
shots. And so then I think he like sucks the poison out of her neck
yeah.
because that's gonna work. Um,
It does, and it's a whole lot of fucking poison. Like
yeah,
he spits it into a glass, and it's like half full of glass of poison. Like
yeah,
Jesus Christ.
it's like it's just like a full mouthful, like
Yeah, he's like,
like spews it into the glass.
yeah,
Um, yeah, and well, he's like holding it in his mouth.
forever. He could have just like spit it on the ground, but I guess
Yeah,
I was like, why the fuck? He walks to the bar like super genuinely, like
yeah,
there's no hurry, and takes the glass, and he's like,
yeah.
puts the
And
glass back.
it's like you got this big mouthful of like
Yeah.
snake venom. Um, and so then that's when he calls the cops, I think.
Well, no, it cuts
Oh no, he
to the
calls the rich
locals.
guy.
Yeah. No, 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 no. Even later, now it cuts just to the rich guy sitting in his room, and the lights go. And no, the butler is like, "I'm going home now,"
Yeah.
and then the lights go out, and you hear like the butler scream. And
Yeah.
he's like looking through the dark, and he takes the sword of his ancestor, which the dragon was cut in half with, I guess.
Yeah.
And the lights go back on, I think, and the mother just like jumps at him,
Yeah.
and he fucking like cuts her in half, like on her chest.
Yeah.
And
Just
then there's just
slowly.
yeah, and then there's like the body part and the leg part laying on the ground with like organs between, and both are like still living, like the
Yeah.
legs twisting around. It looks fucking awesome. I don't know how they did it. I don't know
Yeah.
what kind of effect it is. If it's
I,
like two people or something, because you see both things at a time. It's not like it always cuts between like legs and body. You see both things at a time. It looks fucking great.
I think what they did is they had the lady like yeah definitely like coming up like out of the floor with her
Yeah,
torso, and then they must have yeah like had some other lady like doing like hanging through the floor, and then had like the legs like sticking up out of the bottom of I don't know. It was a good effect. It was really cool.
yeah, it looks awesome.
Uh, and that's yeah that's when they talk to each other on the phone,
Yeah,
and they're like you know oh the snake's on the loose.
yeah,
And this guy too, like up until this point, the Lord guy hasn't really seen anything actually like supernatural
mm-mm.
happen, and he just fucking cuts this lady in half, and she's still
Yeah,
like moving, like her legs and her like they're both like she gets cut in half, but her body
yeah,
parts are still moving, like a snake would if you cut it in half, I guess. And
yeah, or a worm. Yeah, I don't know about the
yeah,
snake, but
yeah, and he's like very casual about it.
yeah,
Just like, yeah, well, you know, sometimes you cut snake ladies in half in the middle of your
yeah.
house, and
And
sometimes you're,
I was so fucking like, I hated it. The only thing I didn't like is that the sword didn't come back,
yeah,
because the movie is kind of cheesy, I guess.
yeah,
And it would be so cool if he would just be like, all right, for the final fight, I have to grab the sword of my ancestor and do the same thing again and cut the dragon
totally.
in two. But that
Yeah,
never happens. But I thought like, oh, that would be so cool if they would have like everybody's down, and then he like out of nowhere like Ex Machina comes in with the sword and it's like, all right,
yeah, totally.
it's my job now.
Yeah. So basically, yeah. So they're on the phone together, and I guess the villainess swiped the snake charming record while they were fighting.
Yeah, or maybe it was the cut in half uh girl. I don't like the mother. I don't know,
Yeah,
because
so,
you see here she's still alive and she like grabs his leg,
yeah, and
because
then
maybe
cuts.
she
Yeah,
did it. I don't know.
yeah,
But the record is just gone. That this
yeah.
like yeah
So yeah. So then the short haired girl and the Scottish guy, like he takes her back to the house so she can like recover after getting
yeah
bitten. And the police officer shows up to take her in for questioning.
yeah.
And there's a
Because
really
there was like murders at the house of the Lord. That's the
yeah,
basic thing.
yeah. And the it's a cool shot actually where you think the police officer is, you know, just the police officer, but
Yeah,
then you remember that he got bitten in the first part of the movie, and it does this kind of weird zoom in where the girl leaves and then his face just kind of goes into like this blank stare,
yeah,
and it kind of hints like ah okay he's under the spell too.
yeah. And later in the car, he's like, "All right, we're going to the villainess now," and she's like, why?" And he's like, "Well, because she is in on the case too, or blah blah blah, because of
Yeah,
some stupid shit." And she's like, "That's bullshit." And I think he shifts like gears,
yeah,
and his like his shirt, his sleeve like goes up a bit, and you see like
oh
by or
yeah,
like you see like bite marks on his forearm basically.
yeah,
And she's like, "All right, I know it." And when they
yeah,
arrive there, like at the villainous house, she like bursts out of the car, and he
Yeah.
turns into like one snake person too with the huge fangs and the yellow eyes.
Yeah.
One thing I loved, he's still, even as a snake, he has the tired eye.
Yeah.
One of
Yeah.
the snake eyes
It's
is
still, yeah,
still like
drift
like
off
like
to the
hanging,
side.
hanging around. Yeah, I was
Yeah.
like, oh, awesome.
Yeah. Yeah, and then she tries to like take off,
Yeah,
and there's a like an anaconda or a python. Like she goes for some reason she runs like to a place like underneath the house.
yeah, because like around the mansion there is like a huge wall with an
Yeah.
electric door that closed.
Yeah.
So she just like desperately runs around and goes like to like a dungeon, I guess, or
Yeah.
like downstairs into some weird like hallway underground.
Yeah, because the cop's
Um,
chasing her.
yeah, snake cop, and
Snake cop.
then there's like a locked steel door with some python or anaconda snake like wrapped around, and she's
Yeah.
like, oh fuck, I can't
Yeah.
go there, and the snake cop is on the other side,
Yeah.
so she's like locked in,
Yeah.
and suddenly you hear a bagpipe playing,
Yeah. And
and
of course.
yeah, of course the snakes start to dance, which I
Yeah.
thought was a cool idea because they could have like kind of ruined it if they went with all the Oriental shtick. But
Yeah.
instead they are like, all right, it's like I guess pipe music or flute music
Yeah.
in general,
Yeah.
which kind of makes sense.
Yeah.
And it's the Scottish guy playing bagpipe
Yeah.
in full like kilt
Yeah.
and
Like,
everything. He's full on.
yeah, he's like I'm a
Um,
Scotsman.
yeah, and I'll fuck up some snakes.
Yeah.
And the cop guy like is like dancing or like just like walking up to him and kind of like chases him around
Yeah.
because he wants the music to stop because he wants to kill the girl, I guess.
The part where it's kind of a good shot where the python comes up out of the dungeon area out of a grate,
Yeah,
and so the girl can go through the door, and then the
yeah,
cop comes up through the grate on the other side, but he like slowly walks out like
yeah,
robotically with like the grate held above his head,
yeah.
and it just looks so funny because it's some guy in a cop
It,
outfit with a
it's an
lazy
old fat
eye with
guy.
snake
Yeah,
fangs, and yeah, it's
and that's a lot of times that actually happens when you don't see the actor's body like completely. It's the same thing when the villainess is like stuck on the tree.
yeah,
She's like, can you give me your hand? And she just like floats down like a
yeah,
snake can just like kind of like go up, not
yeah,
like a straight wall, but they can kind of like attach to walls and like go up there. I don't know completely how that works, but
yeah,
I guess the humans can do it too because she like floats down the tree and he also just like floats up the shaft
yeah,
without like walking or something. It's like that always looks cool. You only see like half the actor's body and then they like disappears because they kind of like crawl away, I guess.
yeah. So yeah, exactly. And so then, yeah, he's playing his bagpipes with the whole get up, and I don't know where he got the get like the outfit, but it's good. I like it. I
Yeah,
support it. And the snake cop is he's like paralyzed. He's chased him and
yeah.
he's paralyzed now and can't do anything because of the bagpipes and then I think the guy runs out of breath or something.
Yeah, well, the snake cop chases him around, and he chases him around. They come to like a sun clock
Yeah, that's
with
a
a
snake.
like, yeah, instead of like an arm again, it's a snake,
Yeah,
and it just like takes a hard shot on the sun, and I was like, somebody's gonna go get impaled on the snake. It's
yeah,
gonna happen,
yep,
and they kind of like run circles around the sun clock.
yep,
And then the Scotsman, because of playing bagpipe for like 15 minutes, is like out of breath and he's like, and
yeah,
then the cop tries to attack him, but I think he trips over the bagpipe or something
yeah,
and falls onto the sun clock and gets like not like body impaled, but like the snake goes through his head
yeah,
and his
and his
eyes
eyeballs
it
stuck on
pokes
it.
his
Yeah,
yeah, and he like pokes his eyeball out and it looks awesome.
it's a great effect. Yeah, his
Yeah, it
eyeballs
is.
like it
Oh,
looks good.
yeah. I was
Um,
like, all right, sick, eyeball kill.
yeah, that was a good one. So yeah, so then now that cop guy is out of the way, guy's just kind of going through the house playing bagpipes.
Yeah.
And is this when he injects himself, right?
Yeah, he comes down the stairs like and plays bagpipe and
Yeah,
stops and just sits there and injects something into him.
yeah. I
And
think it's like it's supposed to be like anti-venom.
yeah, he doesn't say it's he kind of says it later, which
Yeah,
I think was supposed to be a plot twist, but when you see it, you're like, well, it's gonna be like anti-venom, what else?
yeah.
And then he has like a weasel or something. I don't know what
It's
animals.
a yeah, it's a mongoose,
Ah,
which is the so earlier in the film when they had the taxidermy of
yeah,
the
yeah,
cobra fighting the mongoose.
yeah. That
Um,
was so right. Yeah,
yeah,
it's the
so
same animal.
it's a callback to that, and
Yeah.
the only reason I know that like mongooses are supposedly like the enemies of snakes is because in Hawaii they brought I think they brought mongooses to Hawaii to control snake
Huh.
populations or something
All
like
right.
that.
Yeah, I
Uh,
think yeah. Now you said it. It's like it's the only animal that isn't afraid of a snake, I guess, or something like that,
yeah,
right?
or like yeah, we'll kill a cobra or something.
Yeah.
And so he releases this mongoose that it doesn't really come back ever, but you
Well, it
know
comes back.
pretty quickly, I guess.
Yeah.
But yeah, the mongoose, yeah. So he releases it, and then he goes to like find the snake lady,
Yeah.
and you can describe this part if you want. It's
Yeah.
a good.
Well, there's basically like curtains, which like the whole house goes like behind the. I don't know. There's just curtains instead of a door,
Yeah,
and the mongoose runs behind the curtains. And you just hear screaming, and the guy's like, "All right, I guess she's there." And he goes there and like carefully pulls away the curtains, and that fucking mongoose gets like thrown into his face. And right after that, the snake lady, not even with fangs and yellow teeth, but completely nude with blue like paint all over her and like
yeah,
a weird thing on her head,
yeah,
jumps out and bites him in the leg, and he's like, ah, ooh, ooh.
yeah,
And it's like paralyzed, and
yeah,
she drags him to the sacrifice chamber, I guess, where
yeah,
we have like a fucking James Bond setting with the
yeah,
long haired woman like chained over like a volcano without like just like a pole, I guess.
yeah. It's like a cave, and it looks like a well, like an underground
Yeah,
well.
yeah, exactly. And she's like chained over it, hanging there only in her bra and her like panties.
Yeah,
Like I just imagine like a shark jumping out of there or something.
yeah. It
And
looks
she
like
just
almost like a
hangs there.
James Bond movie.
Yeah, it does. And the other like the shorter girl is just like chained to the wall, I guess.
Yeah,
And he gets thrown on the ground, and the snake lady just walks around there and says like some sacrifice chants, I guess,
yeah,
and comes up to the like long-haired woman there with a fucking strap-on knife dildo,
yeah.
and is like, all right, now you're gonna get sacrificed.
Yep. To
And
the white worm.
yeah, and while that happens, it cuts to the Lord
Hmm.
and a few other guys just bringing like poisonous gas to the cave. And
Hmm.
he's like, all right, we're gonna release it in the cave,
Yep.
and then it's gonna come out somewhere, and we'll know where the white worm is.
Yeah.
And I'm like, all right, so okay, and they're like over this hole, and she's about to sacrifice it, and then like smoke comes out of the hole, and I'm like, all right, it's the poisonous gas. But I guess it isn't the poisonous gas, and it's just the white worm, because
Yeah.
then the white worm kind of like Sarlacc from Star Wars
Yeah.
kind of crawls up there, and she's like, all right, no time to do a dildo sacrifice,
Yeah.
and starts like cutting the she's not chained, she's just like tied there, and starts like
Yeah.
cutting the rope. And then the Scottish guy is like, haha, I wasn't paralyzed because I had the antidote.
Yeah.
And runs there and kicks the snake lady
Yeah.
into the hole, but she holds onto the feet of the long haired woman. And so instead of just like stabbing her with his knife, so she would die and fall down,
Yeah.
he cuts her hands off
Yeah. It's
with the
awesome.
knife, which takes forever, but it's awesome.
It's so cool. Yeah. It's like it's cool because it's really the special effect for it is actually good where you
Yeah,
just see him like sawing through this like the bone in
yeah,
her hand. The
yeah,
snake lady's like screaming in pain and
yeah, it is.
it's so good.
And
Yeah,
then
just
she falls down into the mouth of the white worm, which is now gigantic.
it's
When we
like
saw
it's
him
like
like
coming
around,
up the tunnel, I think.
yeah, I guess. But like when we saw it like strapped around like Jesus Christ,
Yeah.
his head was maybe like as tall as my torso,
Yeah.
and now he's like I said, as big as the Sarlacc in the or like the new kind of Sarlacc. The old one was just like a pit with teeth and tentacles.
Yeah, yeah, the you're talking the like the little added mouth on the Sarlacc and the
Yeah, exactly.
yeah, yeah, sure.
Like he's huge now. He's just so huge he can just like easily swallow a person.
Yeah, exactly. And it's funny when the lady falls into the white worm's mouth, it looks almost like a prop from like a Guar show. You know,
Yeah, yeah,
it's like super rubbery looking.
yeah. She like kind of bounces in there.
Yeah. And yeah, it's not like a bad special effect, but it's just,
Yeah,
um
I mean like the worm is fucking huge.
yeah,
Like
exactly.
that's some like Tremors shit. Like they have to build like a huge fucking worm.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
it looks awesome for that, especially for the budget the movie
Yeah,
probably had.
totally. So yeah, so that scene is, basically yeah, the snake lady gets eaten and the two damsels in distress are rescued and there's black smoke. I guess okay, so this is the thing that I had a thing with. I didn't understand what the point of the black smoke was. Like the pumping the gas in there, I don't know what it did.
Yeah, I guess so. I think his argument was like, all right, we see black smoke coming up over there. That's where the white worm lives. So we
Yeah.
can go there and kill the white worm. I mean, if you count one and one together, you know, like, all right, he's gonna live in the fucking mansion of the snake lady.
Yeah.
But I
But it's
don't know,
supposed to be
maybe
toxic, right? Like the gas, like wasn't the
yeah,
gas supposed to kill the worm?
yeah. He said like, don't drop the fucking canisters because it's toxic gas. I don't
Yeah.
know.
So like, because it's like I just don't understand what that did. Because really, like, I mean, maybe it flushed the worm out.
Maybe that's why he like
Like,
crawled to the top.
yeah, maybe that's why he crawled all the way to the top. Maybe normally he like stays down in the
Yeah,
bottom.
because I think
Waits.
it's only like half the worm, right? Because he got chopped in half. That's why I thought he stayed in that hole because he's not able like to crawl around because
No,
he's
no, no.
just like
They said that the worm was stuck in there because of a cave in, so like it
oh
couldn't
okay
escape, and it needed people to
yeah
like sacrifice to it so it could eat.
all
Um,
right
but yeah, I don't know. I think maybe the gas supposedly flushed the worm out. It's kind of hard to tell, but
yeah
regardless, the worm gets up close to the mouth of the well cavern, whatever,
yeah
and somehow the main character, I don't know where he found it, but he has a hand grenade.
yeah
Just pulls a hand grenade out, which is like, oh,
out of his
that's
kilt.
out of his kilt, yeah. Which I guess maybe that's a thing Scottish people do. They just keep hand grenades in their kilts.
Maybe
Maybe it's a cultural thing. Who knows? But yeah, so he throws a hand grenade into the worm's mouth and
yeah
fucking blows it up, blows it to hell.
yeah
And
and pieces of like meat fly around and shit.
yeah. And I think maybe the gas was like flammable or something, so maybe it burned up the whole worm,
Maybe I don't know about
killed
the
it. I don't
gas
know.
thing.
Yeah,
I
I'm
don't
stuck on
care.
it, I guess. But yeah, so they get out, and then he's like, oh, "Okay, yeah, here's the antidote for all of this," and
Yeah
everyone's very pleased with each other. They're all going to get tea time because it's Britain or England, and everyone drinks fucking tea.
yeah
And they're like sitting there on at the end of the movie, palling around saying, "Oh yeah, well, we really helped each other out there."
Well,
And,
the two girls are in the hospital because of shock, I guess.
yeah, something. They're in the hospital, and then this weird kind of, I don't know if it's a twist ending.
It is, I guess,
I
but
guess
it
it
makes
is.
no sense.
Yeah, where the lady's like, "Oh, we didn't give you."
He gets a call from the hospital, and he's like, "Oh,
Yeah,
that's probably like about the girls."
yeah,
And he's like, "Oh, I'm Mrs. So and so. Doctor so and so is like ill right now or whatever.
yeah,
So I gotta tell you, I fucked up. I have your sample that you sent me in for the to make the antidote right here. We send you the wrong sample. We have the antidote still here."
yeah,
And he's like, well, does the sample I got still it brings me something against snake bites? And she's like, oh no, not at all. But you don't have to worry about snakes at this time of the year. So
yeah,
he didn't got the antidote, and he was bitten by the snake woman, and the girl was bitten by the snake woman.
yeah,
And then the Scotsman, the Lord is like, all right, we're gonna drive here and there.
yeah,
And they drive there, and he's just sitting in the car with the same like look that the policeman had earlier.
yeah,
And he has like an evil grin, and the movie ends. It's
yeah,
like, all right, like the legacy keeps on going, I guess, because like now we have new snake people.
yeah. Because you got to
But
have someone. There's always someone to the head of the cult.
yeah, but it makes no sense because if he didn't have the antidote and he was bitten, he would have been paralyzed and couldn't save the girl.
Or like if the paralyzation wore off, he then would have been a thrall for the blue lady.
Yeah, like it would have taken like him because everyone gets bitten and they're like snake persons almost immediately
Yeah,
if they didn't get the poison sucked out.
yeah,
But he just had time forever, which makes no sense. So, but well, I'm fine with the ending. I think it was a good idea.
yeah. It was fun. Um, and yeah, so that was Lair of the White Worm, more or
Yeah,
less. So Paul, would you recommend this movie to people?
absolutely. I think like we said in the last episode that we only recommend our movie if it's like if you're like a horror freak and you're interested in kind of B movies.
Yeah,
But this movie is never movie that's so good, so bad because it's just fucking good. It has some silly and goofy scenes,
yeah,
and it has some intentional funny scenes, I think.
yeah, definitely.
Um,
And the
it's
humor's
it's
actually
well,
good.
yeah, the humor is great, and it's well pasted. Everything's well pasted, and like we said, the effects are great.
Yeah,
The story is awesome. You don't have like a lot of like great characters with depth, but like the acting is good. So you build characters are likable in this movie instead of how, how they were in Hell High, I guess.
yeah,
Um, so even if you don't care for horror or monster movies too much, I would still like recommend watching it because it's an awesome movie with awesome visuals and yeah, it just works out really good. It's a hidden gem, like you said.
yeah. I think it's um worth saying too that for the budget that I think this movie was made on, they did a phenomenal job, really.
Yeah,
It's I mean, I agree with everything you said. It's really good. It was originally introduced to me by my old boss, who was like a he was a movie buff, and
yeah,
he was like, it was when I was first really getting into watching movies, and he was like, "Oh, man, you got to watch Lair of the White Worm," and I was kind of like, "Oh, okay, well, I guess I'll check it out." And yeah, and I watched it, and I was like, "How have I never heard of this before?"
yes. It was this. I had the same reaction.
Yeah. And it's just a great B movie if you're looking for, I mean, really just a good movie in general. It's I mean,
Yeah,
it's like you said, not just for someone who wants to watch a B movie, but for someone who just wants to watch a good, fun movie. It's
yeah.
pretty
It's
fantastic.
it's a not super long movie. It doesn't drag out. It's entertaining.
Yeah.
It's just nice to watch. It's fun.
Yeah, for sure. So yeah, I think both of us give it a strong recommend for sure.
Yeah, absolute.
So Paul, is there anything else that you want to add about this movie that you can think of?
Yeah, one thing, and I'm not sure about this because I was already like when I do like the thumbnails, I'm browsing through like different posters
Hmm.
or like covers for the movies, and I always take the one I like the most because oftentimes there are like a million different ones, and
Yeah.
like half a million look like complete shit.
Yeah.
And this one I found a really cool one actually, but so I just like look through Google Images and do some like image searches.
Yeah.
And I saw a cover for a Bram Stoker book called Lair of the White Worm. So
Oh, really?
I think that this movie just might be based on a Bram Stoker book, which would kind of make even more sense that it feels so much like an old Universal or Hammer movie, because the Hammer movies are based like obviously you have Bram Stoker's like Dracula.
Yeah, definitely.
So it would make sense. And the whole thing about like the vampire snakes and the guy also who wrote Dracula would be like, maybe it's a Bram Stoker book. I might have to do some research, and I'll put it in the description or whatever.
Yeah.
But if it's so, everything makes even more sense, and it's even cooler.
Yeah, definitely. And yeah, I would say the only thing with this movie is I lucked out on finding this movie back in the days when finding movies online was easier.
Yeah,
And so I nowadays I think a struggle people might have is actually finding this movie. I don't know if
yeah,
it's easy or not. I don't know if there might be a DVD release. I haven't looked into it. But
probably. I hope
yeah,
so. I hope there's a Blu-ray, so I'll fucking get it.
yeah, right. And but yeah, so it's I don't know, it might be a little bit tricky to find, but it's definitely worth a watch.
Yeah,
So,
absolutely.
and this one too though, talking about main characters in this movie, do you think so obviously I think the Scotsman was trying to be the main character in this.
Yeah,
But it honestly almost felt like the villainess was more the main character of the movie.
yeah. She's at least like a super important character, of course.
Yeah. I mean, she stole the show, I would say.
Yeah,
Her character was the best one. But
absolutely.
it almost seems to follow her storyline more than it does any of the like the group of young people.
Yeah, well, she kind of has way more of a lore to her because the young
Yeah,
people like the girl had a story how her parents like vanished, but
yeah.
that's it.
Dead Parents
Nobody.
is cheap though.
Yeah,
It's like okay, yeah. It's like if you let's add some quick character
yeah,
development. Oh, their parents are
yeah,
dead. Oh well, no, that's sad.
mm, yeah,
Gotta feel bad for those characters now.
yeah. Exactly. So the villainess had the most like story to her to tell,
Mhm.
and like if she wasn't there, like the whole thing wouldn't make any sense. So I guess that's why the movie
Yeah,
focused so much on her.
definitely. Yeah. So yeah. So I guess that's about all I have to say. That's all the notes. That's all the notes I've got.
Yeah,
Um,
same for me.
so yeah, give it a watch, everyone, if you can find it. And
Absolutely.
yeah, other than that, if you've stuck around listening this long, then thanks for listening to episode 2.
Yeah, thanks a lot.
Yeah.
Well, see you next time, I guess.
See you next time.